Good morning, Penrith church members. It's good to be with you on Sabbath morning, even though we can't be there in person. I know that through the internet, through technology, that we can be together and we can worship together. It hasn't been a big difference from 4 weeks ago when I was worshiping with you on, I think it was March 7, the first Sabbath of the month in March. And I was looking forward to coming back just to see your smiling faces, but also, shake your hands and just to share the word and enjoy your lunch together. We can't do that today, but that's good. There's always next time. But, today we can come aside from the business of our week, from the craziness of COVID-19 and worship our God and our Creator. And, it's a time, Sabbath is a time where we can unplug from the world, unplug from our work, and we can just spend time with family and friends. And one of the good things about COVID-19 is that, if there is a good thing about it, is that we can be at home and we can be together a lot more for those that are at home. 3 weeks ago we gave the office staff the option to work from home, and majority of them have, and that includes myself. And I'm coming to you this morning preaching from a beautiful beach out in Otaki, Cook Islands, was where my mum was born, where my heritage is from. I wish I was there, but I'm actually in my bedroom, in my office, my temporary office at home, and speaking to you. And we're going to open up God's word. And today I want to give a message of hope to us all, because if there's one thing the world needs today, and what it needs now in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis, is hope. And everyone's anxious. You go to the shops and everyone's on edge, and sometimes they lose their tempers, and sometimes we just are not balanced. But I want to preach from the God's word today, and a message that was written by a minor prophet that I believe is applicable for us in 2020. And so we're going to do that together. But before we do, let's just bow our heads in prayer. Father God, we thank you for technology. We thank you that we can come and worship you, even though we're in our own individual homes, even though wherever we may be viewing this broadcast. I pray, Lord, that you may help us as we worship you, as we come to remember who you are, our Creator and our Redeemer. And Lord, I pray that this message that you've placed on my heart may be a message that we can apply in our lives today, and until you come back to take us home. Be with us now, and we thank you for your grace and your mercy, is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So what I would like you to do is grab your Bibles. I've got my Bible here. It's a trusty old Bible. It's got held together by a bit of duct tape. To the book of Nahum. Nahum was, so the book of Nahum, it's a book that's after Micah. Nahum has only got 4 chapters, and it's in between, and Habakkuk follows Nahum. So it's in the Old Testament. So if you can turn your Bibles there to Nahum chapter 1. We're going to look at Nahum chapter 1. And I'm going to be reading from the New Living Translation, because I quite like how it's written in that version. So Nahum 1 is where we're going to start. And so let's start. We're going to focus on the first 7 verses of the first book of Nahum. So here we go. Nahum chapter 1, verses 1. The message concerning Nineveh came as a vision to Nahum, who lived in Elkosh. So here we have the setting. This book of Nahum is about Nineveh. Nineveh, the city of Nineveh, is the subject of the book of Nahum. And as you would know, Nineveh was a major city in the Assyrian Empire. It was a trading center. It was their capital city. It was a major city, and everything funneled in to Nineveh. Nineveh was a popular city. And as we know, the book of Jonah was also based about Nineveh. But there, in that case, it was Nineveh's, it was about Nineveh, and it's called to repentance in the book of Jonah. Here in Nahum, we have quite a different picture of Nineveh and what it's about. And so we don't know much about Nahum himself as the minor prophet. We know that all we know is that he was Judean, and that he wrote some of the most poetic writing of who God is. And so, and also poetic, poetry in the whole of the New Testament. And so this book is about Nineveh. And Nineveh today is actually the city of Mosul in Iraq, in the modern city of Mosul, Iraq. And it's a message that Nahum is giving of the destruction of Nineveh, the capital city of the Assyrian Empire. He's saying to the city of Nineveh, you may have 1,000 years before, or 100 years before, less than 100 years before, destroyed Israel and threatened Jerusalem, but your days are numbered. The coronavirus, the COVID-19, it's powerful. It's pretty serious and deadly stuff, as we've seen so many deaths around the world, and around 28, I think, as of yesterday here in Australia. It may be powerful, but I'm here to tell you, COVID-19's days are numbered. We just have to do our part. Why? Because of what comes up in the next few verses. And so verse 2, it says there, the Lord is a jealous God, filled with vengeance and rage. He takes revenge on all who oppose him and continues to rage against his enemies. The Lord is slow to get angry, but his power is great, and he never lets the guilty go unpunished. Here we see some attributes and characteristics of who God is. He is a jealous God, a God who's jealous about his people. And as you read through, throughout Scripture, he is jealous. He is calling his people back to him. He wants to have a relationship with him. And so he's jealous in that aspect. He wants you. He's filled with vengeance and rage. If we upset him, he gets angry. He has rage. He takes revenge on all who oppose him and continues to rage against his enemies. He is a revengeful God. And then here in verse 3, we see that the Lord is slow to anger and great in power. He is slow to get angry. But when he does get angry, he is powerful. Reminds me of a time. My father was a Cook Islander. Oh my goodness, he would get angry very quickly, and sometimes you just wondered where it came from. You just like flicking a switch and became angry. He was quiet one time, and then he became angry, quite suddenly. And I remember this one time we, as kids, we smashed a number of our windows in our house, both in front of the house, at the back of the house, because our house was in a space where we had a big front yard, and then we had a bit of a backyard as well. Sorry about it if you can see when I'm changing my hands, this is a virtual background, so I'm actually not on that beach, but you can, so sorry if it's blipping in and out. But so we had a front yard that was a pretty big front yard, and had a backyard that was pretty big as well. And so what my brother and I would do was we would take our football, take our soccer ball, and we would actually try and kick the ball over our house and try and catch the ball. And so we would play this game, and many times we put the ball through our windows. And we would also play cricket in our backyard. We had a double garage, and in the middle was like a pier, and that became our wickets. And we would use a proper cricket ball sometimes, and even a tennis ball most of the times. But when we would hit it, we were trying to hit it across the house, because if we hit it across the house, that was a six. And so we would bat, and many times again windows would end up smashed. And the thing is, my dad would repair it because he knew how to repair it. And it was the kind where some of you may know, where it was an old wooden house and wooden frames, and so you put the window in and then you putty around the sides. I even had to learn how to do that because we smashed so many windows. But God. One day my dad came home. Well, he was inside actually. He came inside, and he was inside the house, and we smashed. I think we were playing cricket, and actually we were playing football, and we kicked the ball, trying to get it over the house, and it went through the back window. He storms out, and he says, "Bring all your balls." So we take all our balls to him, and he actually, our volleyball, our soccer ball, we had 2 or 3 footballs because we love, grew up in New Zealand, and the religion there is rugby union and basketballs. And he brought them all. We brought it all to him, and he went and got a knife and he pierced all of them, and says, "Now you kids won't be able to break windows." Don't know where that came from, but anyway, I remember that time. And we serve a God that is slow to anger, but when he does become angry, he is vengeance and he is powerful. And I like it how he says here, and he never lets the guilty go unpunished. You may look around and think, oh, well, the guilty can get away with blue murder. People who abuse a welfare system, or who do the wrong thing and use the system to their advantage, that, no one knows. But God says here, I'm not going to let the guilty go unpunished. And then the second part of verse 3, it says, he displays his power in the whirlwind and the storm. The billowing clouds are the dust beneath his feet. I don't know about you, but one of the things I do like to do is when there's a storm raging, is going near the windows and just watching lightning just light up the whole sky, and it's just amazing when you see the power of nature. And the whirlwinds and the storm show God's power. And the billowing clouds, the cumulonimbus, that was from my Pathfinder days. I remember those, are like the dust beneath his feet. They may rise up in the sky thousands and thousands and thousands of feet, but to God, they are just like dust beneath his feet. And then verse 4, it says, and what we're seeing here is characteristics that Nahum recognized of who God is. And I want you to realize the characteristics of who God is too. And he says in verse 4, at his command, the oceans dry up and the rivers disappear. The lush pastures of Bashan and Carmel fade, and the green forest of Lebanon wither. God is talking about what is described here as a drought. And haven't we been through drought here in Australia for a number of years? And then bushfires, and then rain, and then now coronavirus. It's all happening. And at his command, he speaks and nature listens. And it reminds me of the story in the New Testament of Jesus calming the storm. That at his command, nature listens. The most lush area of Bashan and Carmel in the forest of Lebanon, they wither at his command. And in verse 5, it says there, in his presence the mountains quake and the hills melt away. The earth trembles and its people are destroyed. Imagine that. God created, the Lord Jesus created mountains, but it's the mountains quake at his presence. The hills melt away, the earth trembles, and people are destroyed. One of my most beautiful places that I like to visit, and I just love the scenery, the nature, is South Island of New Zealand. I mean, I grew up in New Zealand, I grew up in the North Island. Well, I think the South Island is more beautiful. But you go from a beach, and then you go to the road, and then you just have sheer mountains with snow on top, snow-capped mountains, just a beautiful scenery. But these mountains, they quake in his presence. They are scared in his presence. And the earth trembles at our God's presence. I wonder what it was like when Jesus walked this earth. Nature was on tiptoes when he walked this earth. I mean, he commanded pigs to go over the cliff. He commanded the wind and the waves. Here we have a picture of the power of God that we serve. And my whole sermon this morning is about the power of God. Never, ever forget that we serve a powerful God. A God that is so powerful that no matter what your situation, he can overcome. He can deal with it. And then we continue in verse 6. Nahum writes, who can stand before his fierce anger? Who can survive his burning fury? His rage blazes forth like fire, and the mountains crumble to dust in his presence. Again, we have that imagery, that word picture of a mountains crumbling into dust in his presence. The mountains are scared of our God. They know who created them. And here we have a picture of who God is. Characteristics of our God. He's a jealous God. He's vengeful. He's powerful, slow to anger. Nature, mountains are in awe of who he is. At his command, they all listen. People are destroyed. His rage, blazes forth. In verse 6, who can stand against his fierce anger? Rage goes forth like fire, and mountains crumble. These are characteristics of who God is, the God that we serve. This coronavirus has power, but God is more powerful. This coronavirus is nothing to God. It's only a speck in his eye. It has no dominion over him. And because it has no dominion over him, it doesn't need to have dominion over us. That even if we do contract COVID-19, even if we do get sick, and even if I hope it doesn't happen to any of us, but even if we die from it, know this, that we still serve a loving and a powerful God. Whatever your situation you may find yourself in today, it might be, financial struggles, and maybe health issues. You may have lost your job over this COVID-19. Your hours may be reduced. You don't know where money's going to come to pay your rent or your mortgage, or even to put food on your table. You might have problems in your relationship, with your marriage, maybe with your children and siblings. Whatever it is, whatever your situation, God is more powerful. God is a lot stronger. God is with you in whatever your situation is. God is with us. God is walking with us. And I love that scenery of, or that saying that, two people walking on the beach. God and this other person's walking on the beach, and then there's only one set of footprints. And the guy and the person says to God, how come there's only one set of footprints? And then he says, that was the times when I was carrying you. God will carry you and sustain you, whatever your issue may be, whatever your problem, whatever your pain, whatever your anxiety is. God can help you through it. Because if God's power is displayed through whirlwinds, through storms, through nature, and the mountains crumble in his presence, how much more do we serve a God who can be with us, who can help us? You see, again, I say it, God is a powerful God. There is no other. And I guess that's my bottom line of my sermon this morning, that God is powerful. Period. Done. Drop the mic. God is powerful. But then there's another verse that comes, Nahum 1 verse 7. And it sort of summarizes everything, because the verses 2 to 6 are pretty gruesome and can be quite, daunting and a bit hard to take and show, we may be scared about that. But we don't have to be scared if we're Christians, because by faith we know we serve a loving God. And it sums up in verse 7, Nahum 1 verse 7, and it says there, the Lord is good. The Lord is good. A strong refuge when troubles come. God is your refuge in our troubles. He is someone that we can go to find refuge. He's not just a refuge. He's a strong refuge. He's stronger than a fortified city. He is close to those who trust in him. New International Version said he cares, reading my Bible here, he cares for those who trust in him. We serve a caring God. We serve a powerful God, but a caring God, a loving God. A God who is close to us, who is walking with us. He is our strong refuge when troubles come. The Lord is good. And so my message of hope for us today, in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic, that the Lord is good, that the Lord is powerful, that he cares and is close to those who trust in him. My God is with us right here, right now. Has been throughout history. Is present today and will be with us until he comes back. And my church family there at Penrith, whoever's watching via your YouTube channel, know this, that we serve a powerful God, that we serve a God that is good, that a God who is strong, a strong refuge, and that he cares for those who trust in him. What needs to change in your life and in my life in order for us to change our thinking of who God is? What do we need to give up in order to grow our faith in God? What do you need to do today to invite him into your life? Because God wants to come in and he wants to be your friend. He wants to come in and he wants to give you the hope, be the refuge that you're looking for. For those of us who are Christians, I pray that this may strengthen your faith in who God is. Keep holding on, because we serve a powerful God, a God that is good. For those of you who may be just on the fringes of Christianity, fringes of learning about God, I pray that this may be a message of hope. You don't have to be scared of him because he's got rage and he's vengeful. You don't have to be scared of him. These are the characteristics of who God is. He's slow to anger. He is powerful. And because of that, because of who he is, and because I am insignificant in this world, but through him, I become significant. And so my challenge and my prayer for each one of us is that we will worship him, that we will take him into our life. And you know, there's a story that that I just want to share with you, and it was Napoleon. He was up the top of he was about to come into a village in Austria, and to take over the city, and happened to be Easter Sunday, and the town people gathered together, and the priest of the village said, you know, the people said, "Are we going to defend our city, defend our township?" And he says, "You know what? We've been trying to fight things on our own strength, and it hasn't worked. We just need to leave it to God. All we're going to do is we're going to sound the bells, and we're going to worship and leave everything to God." And so they got up there, they rang the bells of the chapel, and suddenly the Napoleon's army heard the bells, and they thought, "Oh, maybe they're ringing the bells because that means the Austrian army have arrived." And so Napoleon said to his men, "Let's go." They left by the end of the worship service. And as the village people came out, they did not see Napoleon's army. It was all because of the power of God. We serve a powerful God. He's a God that loves you. He's a God that is there for you. He is a God that will get us through COVID-19. My challenge is to remember this, to stay faithful, to remember who we serve. We serve a God that is good. He's a strong refuge in times of trouble, and he's close for those who trust in him. Even though we cannot meet person to person, but may I challenge us to keep our faith, be strong, because our God is strong, is my prayer. Let's bow our heads as we finish our sermon together. Father God, this morning, we thank you for your Sabbath. I just want to thank you for this little book of Nahum that's so powerful, and who would have ever thought that the writer wouldn't have even thought that in 2020 will be opening up his book and reading the words that you had inspired him to write down. But Lord, we thank you for who you are, that you're a powerful God, that the nature is at your command, that you are still in control. And I thank you that you are good, that you are a strong refuge in times of trouble, that you care and you watch over us. Lord, I pray for the members of Penrith. I pray for anyone that is watching this, that they may know, that they may experience your power in their life. And all we have to do is just ask you into our life, and you come in. Father, I thank you for your goodness, and throughout this COVID-19 and staying at home and you know, semi-lockdown, and the world being so anxious, I pray that this message may give us hope, that we may stay faithful to you. And I pray for each family that is represented. And we thank you for your word that can inspire, and your promises that you've written. Lord, take us now and be with us for the rest of your Sabbath day. And until we meet again face to face in our churches, I pray that you may sustain us and keep us like you've promised. Bless us. May your Holy Spirit bring comfort and peace to everyone this today, is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. May God bless you. Hey, love you guys all, and take care. Look after yourselves, and you know, take time to read God's word, and to grow closer with Him, and to depend on Him. May God be with you until we meet again. God bless.